years ago.
But correct me if I'm wrong, that particular area with the fire pit, the last time the levee was overtopped, wasn't that area part of
Some
the
it was, yes.
overtopping?
Yes, but it didn't get up to their house.
Ah.
The house to the east that had a walkout lower level, they were flooded seriously. And they have to have flood insurance because their living space is below that flood elevation.
Thank you.
So I don't know if that's true for how many other houses along there, whether or not they have to have flood insurance or not.
Is there a possibility of getting some sort of a statement to follow up Mr. Simpson's question that we could have, that I could show FEMA when I flood, that I'm still covered? I think that might be a good idea. And make the homeowner feel, because flooding is a very, very serious and emotional issue for people, and I just want to make sure that people are at rest right now and comfortable with the status quo. And not necessarily, they're not being put in jeopardy in any way, shape, or form of, one, their house flooding, and or two, their insurance being not in good standing.
If I may,
Yeah, please,
just
Ron.
one further comment. It'd be my opinion likewise, or thought that if we aren't successful, say within 6 months or 9 months or whatever it might be, of getting some type of a response and a variance, then we could bring the subject matter back for reconsideration too. Or it could almost probably be done on an annual event, I would imagine.
Any other comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Joel. The next consideration is a parking restriction on North 10th Street between Pleasant Street and Davie Street.
I have this one too.
Yeah.
North 10th Street, at least in the section of consideration between Pleasant Street and Lewis Street, is very narrow, 21 foot wide. And we've noted there is an apartment, I believe it's at 10th and Shipman, that has virtually no off-street parking, and maybe that's an aggravation to the neighborhood because there is a lot of over-parking, I think, on 10th Street in those two blocks, partly because of that. And this brings the question of safety forefront in that we have had issues of, especially during snow season, having with the roadside covered somewhat with snow, that people are parking both sides, and it's really channeled the center available space for travel. In fact, in some places it is so narrow a snowplow can't even make it one direction down the street, and therefore it would be a serious problem for emergency vehicles trying to make that same travel path. So we've tried to respond to what could be a better situation here, understanding those two blocks are very narrow. We looked at the neighboring streets. 9th Street happens to be 28 feet wide, which could allow parking both sides, and 11th Street is just slightly wider at 23 feet over the 21 feet I'm speaking of for 10th Street. We did a poll of the neighbors, at least sent out 45 letters to adjacent homeowners of those two blocks. Response was poor. We got about 7 responses. Our options were to consider one side only parking, which would be during the snow season, December 1, April 1. And an alternative would be to look at shifting parking on alternate side parking day of the week. So you'd have like a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, you could park on one side, then that shifts to Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, the other side allowed parking. Well, the neighbors, in 7 responses out of the 45 we sent, agreed that the seasonal parking for November or December 1 to April could be an option, and others didn't think you'd really want to tackle this. Three votes believed that parking really wasn't an issue. So I guess maybe some of these voters have plenty of parking off street in their garage or in front of their garages or in their garages. So I guess I would bring to you the option we recommend is to have the seasonal one side only parking for one side, choose which side, it doesn't matter, December 1 to April 1st. The pushback on that would be, where do people then park, since we've seen the problem of over parking or insufficient off-street parking. In fact, one owner says, will this cause people to park on lawns. Well, I'd hope not. And others thought it would be rather confusing. And yet there's still another option we did not consider, was just call this a snow route street. And then it's only at the time we declare a snow route that everybody gets off the street for plowing to occur, and then the snow route ordinance is lifted and they can park again. So there we have the options. I guess we would recommend one side be restricted December 1 to April 1st as no parking.
Is this then more really of a snow issue, Joel? I mean, or is this a speeding issue? I mean, I guess my feeling is every time as a citizen has come forward to my streets to have eliminate one-side parking, that just means cars are going to speed faster down my street because it's a wider lane.
Right.
And so I've always been very opposed to making the speedway in front of my house faster.
Well, it's a safety issue more prevalent in the course of a snow season when you have snow in the parking lane.
Then I personally would like to see it be a snow route, then let them park when they want to. It slows the traffic down, unless there's kids darting in and out or whatever. It's your ward, you brought this forward, please, Pam.
I actually had a police officer send me an email to bring this forward. I, of course, have lived in this area my entire life, and I couldn't agree with you more that during summer season, yeah, there are cars parked all over. Every single one of those people in that area you're talking about has a driveway. The only place that doesn't is that 5-unit at the corner of 10th and Shipman, and Shipman is also parking only on one side. So the problem is that the people don't want to plow their driveways, so they just keep parking on the street. I drive a regular-sized pickup truck. I cannot go down that street in the winter because I can't even get my vehicle between the cars parked on both sides. So the police officer that brought that to my attention has a relative that lives on that street. So I didn't even bring it up because I'm just like, I guess they deal with it. But honestly, when he brought it up, every day for the next couple of weeks, I tried to get down that street in the winter, and half the time I had to stop and turn and go around because I couldn't get a pickup truck through. So that means we are not getting a snow plow or a fire engine through. So it makes very little difference to me if we restrict parking to one side during the chance of snow or make it a snow route, except that the snow keeps building up at the curb, and it doesn't take very long before the cars are parking farther and farther out from the curb and closer towards the center.
Other comments? Thank you, Pam. Ron?
I guess I would only comment that the December 1, April 1st, at least in my opinion, is more absolute and easier enforced, and it's known, and there's no judgment within, if you post it as a snow route of 2 inches or more, there's always that judgment call out there. And so if you're going to do anything, I would support that December 1 to April 1st and give it a try at least and see if it does make an improvement in that area.
Please.
And just, it's embarrassing that only 15% actually responded back to this particular survey when you send it out to 45, but be that as it may. I would support the initial snow route provision that the mayor mentioned to make it in compliance with what the rest of the city's at least for now.
Other thoughts? Is there a motion on the floor then to direct staff to bring back an ordinance that relates? I've heard a couple of,
I'll make a motion.
please.
I move that we, I was deferring to the police chief, and I saw him shake his head. It's easier to enforce this if it's December to April.
Please, Chief, weigh in on this. I think that is a good point, but
That's where it started from, but not the police chief.
Well, there are other areas in town that have the December 1st, April 1st, so
Oh, okay.
I would agree with Alderman Naylor that I think that would be a good step. We can always modify it later if it doesn't work, but it seems to work fine in the other areas.
Now, do they alternate sides? I mean, I think that that would be very confusing.
No,
Yeah,
no, it's just
okay.
December 1st to April 1st on one side, you know, and they keep it cleared.
So is that a motion then?
Then I'll make that motion that we restrict that parking. I believe, Joel, that was restricted to the west side of the street?
I think so.
The reason I say that is because of
Is
people...
there a second on that
Oh.
motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, now Pam.
The reason I say that again is because all the people on the east side of the street do have driveways, and they could pull off in their driveway.
Other discussion on the motion by Ms. Burby? Yes, please.
Just a general concern, if you can't get your pickup truck through there, that seems problematic to get it. And you mentioned a couple of vehicles, but you can't get an ambulance through there either.
Probably not. I can fold my mirrors in.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion to bring back an ordinance form signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Staying.
Abstain, one abstain. Okay, do I hear a motion then to adjourn the committee of the whole?
So moved?
Moved by Mr. Naylor. Seconded by Ms. Thomas. Discussion. Roll call, please, Steve.
Alderman Simpson.
Staying.
Tarazinski.
Yes.
Verbic.
Yes.
Gallagher.
Yes.
Naylor.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Mayor Paulson.
Yes. We will come back at 7 o'clock for the regular meeting of the city council.